I've been asked to talk about leadership and attributes of an effective leader. This is part of a longer talk, and so I'll try over the next 10 or so minutes to cover this aspect of leadership. Obviously, it's a very multifaceted topic. By the way, put questions into the chat if you have comments, questions, or concerns, either related to what I'm telling you or what Jason mentioned in his last talk or what Mike is going to say in the next. Feel free to make comments or ask questions. So, with that said, spine surgeons are leaders. Whether you want to or not, you are a leader. You're in your department, your hospital, in society, in your community, in your religious organization, in your kids' school, whatever it is, you are seen as a leader. And not just thinking, I can't shirk this responsibility, but I'm not a leader. Leadership is a learned skill, and you're practicing it all the time. And we're all on a leadership journey. And so I would just start with thinking about it that way, just like we think about how we learn anything else that we've taken on. And so as I talk about my leadership journey and then some attributes, I've read a bunch of books. These are some of the ones I like, and I'll cover a couple of things out of them and some of the people that I quote during this talk. But I'm going to start with Simon Sinek, who, if you haven't seen, this is not a leadership talk. This is a talk on business and communication. If you haven't ever watched any of his YouTube videos, worth doing. But the concept is this, and he's really talking about companies at this point, but this serves this purpose as well. Many people talk about, or I'll say companies in his case, talk about what they do, and they sell themselves by what they do. And a few sell themselves, go beyond what they do, and really talk about how they do it. But the really sophisticated few talk about why they do what they do, that then leads to the how and the what. And that seems to do wonders for the message. It is really that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. He says that numerous times in the video. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. What you do is proof of what you believe, and why you do it needs to be out in front. And this is absolutely true of leadership as well. And so I'll talk about leadership through my own journey. And my why, there are two, and one of them is the impact. And I think this would be true for a lot of people who take on this leadership journey. And it's the impact that you have that's broader than just the thing you're doing at the moment. It's a sense of responsibility to make the world a better place. There's an altruistic component to this. It also provides meaning and value, a life worth living, job satisfaction, life satisfaction. And it's really about then helping other people be great. It's not about wearing a leadership badge. Nobody cares how much, Theodore Roosevelt, nobody cares how much you know that until they know how much you care. So this impact, make things better, build those up around you and inspire, is a significant why for me. The other really, if I had to pin it down, would be about team. Join others in having greater impact, shared fate and common experience, build the bonds of friendship. This team mentality, team sense around leadership is as much a draw for me. And so with those two as my whys, I'm going to talk a little bit about how and some of these attributes. And it's really common in a leadership lecture to provide, 7 lessons or something like this. And I'm not really going to do it this way. Not that these are wrong. It's just not going to sink home quite as much as some of the things that have really sort of influenced me. And I'd say among all those books that I showed and others that I've read, I really like this one. It's The Contrarian's Guide to Leadership. It was written by Steve Sample, who was a past president at USC. He's no longer living, but recently passed. And is in the business world and has talked on leadership for years. And I'm going to talk about 2 of the chapters in this book. It's a really good book. But before I do that, a much more common book that you may have all read, called Good to Great. Jim Collins wrote it. It's a bestseller, and if you haven't read it, it's worth reading. It really is about companies that go from good to great. But in this book, they talk about leadership traits, and you can see these levels of leadership traits or leaders, with levels 1, 2, and 3 being a highly capable individual, contributing team member, and competent manager. But as we get to level 4, this is where you start to get into the C-suite and maybe the CEO is an effective leader that catalyzes commitment to and vigorous pursuit of a clear and compelling vision, stimulating higher performance standards. And most CEOs are level 4 leaders, not level 5 leaders. Now, to be a level 5 leader, you build enduring greatness through a paradoxical blend of personal humility and professional will. So I'm going to read that one more time. You build enduring greatness through paradoxical blend of personal humility and professional will. And it's really about these things. Channel your ego needs away from yourself and to the larger goal. Ambition is for the institution, not themselves. And just one more quote from Collins after Truman's quote. It's amazing what you can do, what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. But Collins similarly says, look out the window to apportion credit. Look in the mirror to apportion responsibility. And I think that is if you get nothing else from this lecture, think about this. But I'm going to move on and talk about 2 chapters in this Contrarian's Guide to Leadership. One is called Thinking Gray, and the other is Work for Those that Work for You. So let me start with Thinking Gray. Now, most people are binary, instant judgment, good, bad, true, false, friend, foe, black, white. Excellent leaders can hold off on judgment and see all the shades of gray. So Thinking Gray is about not being binary, not judging instantly, and really holding off. And I love this quote too. You have to think about it for a second. F. Scott Fitzgerald says, the test of a first-rate mind is the ability to hold 2 opposing thoughts while still retaining the ability to function. So Thinking Gray is about not making a snap decision. So don't make any snap decision if it can be held off. Try not to filter messages through your opinions. Really hard to do. Takes a lot of practice, maybe a lifetime of practice. Really listen to the message being delivered. It's not a skill we cultivate as surgeons. None of this Thinking Gray. In fact, society's vision of great leaders are those that are bold and decisive. And in contradistinction to what society thinks about bold and decisive leaders, one of the best examples is George Washington. He was a master of delay and decision making, and he would gather information and all relevant information well beyond when his advisors were just make a decision, and he wouldn't yet, and it infuriated him, but he was one of the best leaders our country has produced. And you likewise have to know when to stop listening, as Machiavelli says, avoid flatterers and sycophants. So Thinking Gray, excellent leaders hold off on judgment and see all the shades of gray. Now, the other chapter, Work for Those Who Work for You. Spend 10% of your time hiring, 90% of your time working for them, working to make them successful. Their success is your success, and their success is your institution's success. You should be the best first assistant. Communicate promptly, listen carefully, and pick your battles carefully. Winston Churchill said, you will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks. I'm going to highlight one book I particularly like called Turn the Ship Around. It's not, I don't think, that well known. It was written by a captain in the Navy who was the captain of this particular submarine, the USS Santa Fe. It was the worst performing fast attack sub, Los Angeles class sub in our Navy at the time that he was asked to take the helm and turn the ship around. And he did that. It became the best functioning over time, the best functioning submarine in the Navy, and he kept all of the personnel. And so he talks about that journey. And really, he had to get a lot of permission at certain steps from his superiors because he did not follow a traditional leader-follower structure. He wanted to lead leaders. He wanted to enable the people that were his officers, his leaders under him in his sub, enable them to be leaders. So leading leaders spoke to me like almost no other example in the military about how it is really in medicine, how it is in a department of neurosurgery or orthopedics. We're leading leaders when we lead. And the way to do that is to ensure that the person that will be a leader with you has clarity. That is, they know the goal, that we all share a common goal, what that goal is, and clarity around the goal, and competence, of course. But if they have clarity and competence, then you should be trying to push ownership and leadership to them because they are where the information is. So you're essentially pushing authority down to where the information is, better and faster decisions and more complete decisions. And another military book, again, not commonly done in the military, is to push authority down to where the information is. Was Stanley McChrystal's book of Team of Teams. Many of you may have read it. He was head of special operations in Iraq during the war and was trying to figure out how we can fight an organization in Al Qaeda when we have this very structured uh, organization, what we are designed for, and we're facing this very disorganized, hard to figure out, incredibly fast moving organization. And he took his group through a series of changes, going from a command and control structure to a commanding of teams to a team of teams, and talks about what this means. But essentially, it's the same thing if you think about it. It is pushing leadership and decision making down to where the information is at the moment. So breaking down traditional hierarchies, building trust, promoting transparency, decentralizing decision making. And in the end, then, and this is really kind of the highlight of this book in my mind, the role of the senior leader is no longer that of a controlling puppet master, but that of an empathic crafter of culture. So work for those that work for you, hire the best, work for their success, give your committees or advisors the power to decide. And maybe most importantly is, even if you don't like what they decided, if you've given them the power to decide, don't reverse that decision unless you absolutely have no other choice. And you need to rely on the people that you have empowered. And lastly, I just wanted to talk on one other thing that Simon Sinek talks about in leadership, and that is empathy and perspective. It's not about being in charge, but rather being responsible for those in our charge. Micromanagers still try to do the job. As a leader, you're responsible for the people who are responsible for the job. Empathy inspires those in your charge, and it's a learned skill. So, with that, figure out your why and then sort out the how. Thank you.